So anyways, as I was frickin' saying...
Are you some kind of merchant? You don't seem to have any wares.
More of an explorer.
But you send other people to do your exploring.
All right, more of an opportunist. Girl. Nora girl. Huntress. We live in a world of opportunities. Risky opportunities. But why should risk stand in the way of a lucrative prospect for the likes of me? All right. I'm more of a gambler.
If I did look into your rumor...
You won't need to climb up the shoulders of the world for it. It's on the edge of Banuk land, beneath the anvil of the moon. And you look like you know your way around the savage east. The east. If it's true they walk among machines without fear in this camp, well, you can't miss that, can you? Payment on return.
Ronora, I'm the mournful Naman. My apologies that we meet like this.
Like this.
In grief. You hold yours close, like a talisman. Wait, forgive me. You didn't come for reparations? Someone you lost to the Sun Ring?
No. I know about the Red Raids, but the Carja owe me nothing.
I see. Well, I could use the help of a strong-willed outlander. Then I would owe you very much indeed. These people seek to honor their loved, their lost, with their own voices, not mouthing Carja rituals to Carja stone. But there are obstacles. While Meridian holds its breath for any disturbance, these robes only tie my hands.
What kind of obstacles?
The first pilgrim is an Oseram, who seeks to visit the Shrine of Kings on the road to the city. He waits there now, forbidden to enter by an old sun priest who suffer no heathen. This Utaru lost her companion on the edge of the Jewel, at a pool where snap moths gather. The shrine was built there to ward off the machines, and its effectiveness leaves much to be desired. And the Banuk would paint a mark on the sun's climb, a call to the machine spirits, I understand. They need no beckoning. Glint hawks perch there, drawn to the spire's shining.
So, clear the machines out of 2 shrines and move a priest out of the other.
All I can ask for is your charity and that their stories are heard.
Naman, rituals and prayers can't bring back those who are lost.
No, but it can help those who grieve to find themselves. It can lend them strength and hope, like a new sunrise.
I didn't think your priesthood would ask outsiders for help.
If only the sun would set on our pride. Until this is done, I am no sun priest. To wear a red robe was an aspiration. I aspired. Now our hoods make us blind. We whisper reconciliation, but forget how the old king's priests sang the words and blessed the killing.
The killing? You mean the Red Raids?
Yes. And the sacrifices that came after.
Why did the priests go along with all that bloodshed?
Sometimes we Carja are more concerned with what is tradition than what is right.
Huh. Maybe the Carja and Nora aren't so different. You're disappointed with the Sun Priests, but you still wanted to be one?
I spent my whole life looking up to the temple. My brother's voice echoing in its arches. Even he couldn't turn me away, and how he tried. In the end. He said, when we were loved, our robes were dyed in cinnabar. Now they are stained in blood.
How so?
Our robes are handed down to us. Most of the old priests fled rather than be seen in the glare of the new sun. And so we are left to wear their sins, For me, at least, they hang heavy.
Where is your brother now?
He waits for me on the Trail of the Sun, I hope. He spoke out against the sacrifices. For a priest to question the Sun King's will, his punishment was worst of all.
You lost someone you loved too. I'm sorry.
No, not lost. When I took on these robes, I found his memory.
I'll do what I can to help those in mourning.
To honor their memories is to honor us all.
Sorry, I'm typing up and clarifying several things in the documents while they talk. But here's the short answer. Don't worry, guys. That was a typical complete hardware crash. Still annoying, still frustrating, still irritating, and I still had to do my due diligence in checking the memory dump and everything else about that. But that was just a straight-up graphics driver crash, which is typical. That's normal. It shouldn't happen frequently, but it does happen. And it was a straight-up driver crash.
You're the one the Vanguard has been crowing about. The Nora who tracks criminals and traitors with her second sight. If only you'd use it to help me. A thief raided my home and took my brother's sword.
Tell me about the robbery. Don't leave anything out.
It was brazen and professional. They took only the sword, my most valuable possession. The thief went out through the window and scared the shadow off my steward. Otherwise, it would have been a clean getaway.
No, Larian, we are on PS4. PS4.
Why would someone steal the sword?
It's priceless. Made from the burnished antler of a lancehorn, finely inlaid with studded stones all down the...
Okay, I get it.
Forgive me. That's not even why it's important. The 12th Sun King gave it to my brother for his military service. He was killed in battle during the Liberation. I was saving it for my nephew who's stranded at Sunfall with the Karja in Shadow.
How did your nephew wind up in Sunfall?
Most of the old clergy backed the Mad Sun King, so when he fell, they ran out of fear of retribution. As an honor guard to a venerable priest, my nephew had no choice but to go with them. Now that my brother is gone, my nephew is my heir, so that sword really belongs to him. And after all he's been through, I won't be able to look him in the face if I don't get it back.
I'll see what I can do about the robbery.
Have a word with my steward if you need to. He saw the thief escape. And listen, all I want is the sword back. Meridian, and my family for that matter, has seen enough strife already. If I can get it back, all is forgiven. No retribution necessary.
The Oseram were all right, but they drank or passed a night in the warehouse district. This isn't up to their usual standard.
Sorry, before I cut off today, I want to at least do a pass of our gameplay pluses and minuses. I was going to do it right now, but I changed my mind. And so do it in just a second, when we're not listening to people noise. I need to get the bottom floor campfire, anyways.
Don't forget to stock up before you're...
The good news, Gum Gum, is that it is relevant. The bad news is it's only relevant to you, or the specifics of how you design your calendar, which is, of course, up to you. I decided to be boring when designing mine. 24 hours in a day, 7 days in a week, 4 weeks in a month, 12 months in a year. Bam. Standardized universal time. I thought about doing made-up months, and made-up weeks, and made-up units of time, but then I realized that that's stupid. No, I don't mean that, I don't mean that. But there's no real purpose to do that. Because all that really does is make it so that people who are playing it are like, what's an alm? Or people who are reading it for the first time are like, huh? But if you just use a unit of measurement that they're already well familiar with, well, then we're good.
This heat could burn the rust off metal.
Good thing I have a force field then. Whew, could you imagine? Yeah, this is why we're getting the flight path down below, by the way. I mean, don't mistake me, I don't mind making custom stuff, but when it comes to the absolute basics, nah. An hour is an hour. Which is 60 minutes, which is 60 seconds. Which is a... And basically all of the time are based on a universal measure of time, which is called a second. And the second is something that is atomically tracked, basically just like it is in real life. So, there, like I said, there is a universal standard of time, regardless of where you are. I also changed how gravity works in my settings, so that's not a factor. I mean, you could have local time, and local time's different, Tesla. I'm talking about universal time. And yeah, this also applies to calendars. There is the calendar, the standardized calendar. And then there's local calendars, which has nothing to do with anything, because that's local. Especially before certain planets join Galactic Community, or leave the Galactic Community. What defines a second? Well, let me go to Google here. Really quick. Give me a second here. I mean, humans were the first one to the stars, Tesla, so sure. It is defined by taking the fixed numerical value of the caesium frequency, the unperturbed ground state hyperfine transition frequency of the caesium-133 atom, to be 9,192,631,770 when expressed in a unit of hertz. That's a second. Any questions? That's that tab. Excuse me, cesium. I never know how to pronounce a C. No, I'll probably make up some completely unrelated thing on Falkenstein. Or I will never bother to make up something because it doesn't matter.
Tell me what happened to your family. Maybe I can help.
By the sun, I fear they are all dead by now. I barely escaped alive. Machines. Vicious machines attacked my family's estate. Father sent me to get help.
What kind of machines? Where did they come from?
A Ravager. By the sun, how it cut down those guards, and a pack of watchers came with it. The Sun King warned us that he could no longer protect freeholds beyond the valley, but Father never saw this coming.
Tell me more about the estate.
My father owns a dozen quarries, and he's put his spoils into the estate. Fine tapestries, custom woodwork, silver fixtures.
But what about the people there?
Of course. Their lives are all that matter. My father and sister, plus a dozen guards and servants. I hope they survived.
I'll see what I can do about the estate.
You will? Oh, thank you. Oh, please, be careful. Those machines are deadly.
She's in a lot of roles, Octave. That's all I was saying. I have nothing else to add to that. I mean, you're correct, Tesla Effect, but most normal people don't really need to know the exact, to the super precise measure of how long a second is. Most people would just say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they're close enough. If they need to know, they probably have a piece of equipment handy. Like this, where I can just track seconds like that. So, yeah, no, that doesn't really matter. Sorry. Unless I'm just missing your point, which is very feasible.
Find better wares.
Only the finest goods here.
Metalbot here, good prices, fair prices. Fairest prices for machine parts under the mesa. No tithes to the Sun Court, not like those greedy snarls upside.
She's not interested in taxes.
I know what she's not interested in. As I was saying, no better offer for Snap-Maw lenses. I'd give my oath on it.
By the sun, don't start spitting in your palm. Huntress, I apologize on behalf of my partner. Silent partner.
Silent partner?
If the sun would only grant my prayers. Never mind Snap-Maw lenses, Huntress. There's no market for those. A long-leg lens, though, you'd be well rewarded for.
So which,
No market for a Snap-Maw lens is good, strong stuff. You can hammer it into anything.
Where do you think we are? Some trading post with sawdust on the floor? This is Meridian. We have culture.
I know culture. Just the other day I was watching the hunting trials.
Oh, great sun, lend me the strength of midday.
The sun's baked your head if you think we'll shift long-leg lenses at a time like this.
hello?
I've told you as many times as the spire is tall, craft and artisanship is who we are.
Craft doesn't win a war or keep the machines from your farms. What you need is good, old-fashioned, plain...
Oh, yes. Old-fashioned, plain hammered work. If ever something glittered, you'd throw it back.
If Carja had built that elevator, they would have stopped at a good-looking shaft.
All those years of delving, and you never found a sense of humor.
Enough!
Well?
They're a blunt people, the Nora.
Why do you two even work together if you can't agree on anything?
It's a symbolic gesture.
No tithes to the Sun Court. Like I said in the beginning, Renine.
Okay, I hate to point this out, but the voice direction on that guy on the left is just bad. He keeps putting the emphasis on the wrong parts of his word and his sentence structure. He's basically saying the wrong sentence. And it's the first time I've noticed this in this whole game, and it's just really distracting.
Just tell me which part you want.
A long leg lens.
A Snap-Maw lens.
Fine. I can see that you're busy.
Wait. You drove her off. Snap-Maw lens. What do you say?
I drove her off. That's rich. Listen, Huntress, long leg lens.
I like the guard who's kind of Ubisofting in the background there.
Scroungers? What kind of brutes are you trying to attract?
We were agreeing.
Speaking as someone who's met several hillbillies in real life, I beg to disagree, Mr. Hastings. At least here. I suppose that's a valid statement. Alright. Let's do that.
I do the calling, you do the count. Only the...
I wouldn't say agree.
I don't complain about your counting other than too long.
Would you like to buy something today?
The line he said as he was parting there is a good example of what I mean by the direction. I don't complain about your counting, other than it takes too long. And he says that as if that's the middle of a sentence. As if there is to be another sentence immediately following it. But, you know, I don't think... And that's the cadence of what that sentence sounds like. But instead, that was the end of the sentence. That's what I'm talking about. There were just little things off about his voice acting, his direction. I mean, as long as Thor is a gentleman, Zachtaft. GTA 4 of all games, not 5. I do hope it works for you, Cord. I mean, I guess I usually hope that, but I stand by it.
This must be Ronamon's family estate.
Yeah, where's the... Oh, come on! Is there no... There's one down there. We'll go with that one. I mean, that's rather feasible given how much voice acting there is in this game, Javin. Even I will... I shouldn't... sounds so arrogant. I will accept bad enunciation takes just because, you know, getting guys to do the voice acting is just like pulling teeth in some cases. I'm not gonna name names. It's okay. Oh, I'll come save you if I can reach you in time. Or you'll do it before I even get there. That's cool too.
The sun shines today.
Well, that was a little bit different, Bregman. That was a pronunciation thing. I'm actually a lot more loose about pronunciation things. Because that's just dialect at that point, right? For example, one of my actresses, she voices Brane. That's how she pronounces Braun's name. And, okay, I'm with that. She's the only one of her particular species who really says that name. And even if she didn't, it just kind of works. Because you can still tell who she's talking about, right? So I'm with it. Oh, I have no idea, Zach Teft. Some new character that I've not invented yet. Too far away, still, I suppose.
I'm picking up another signal.
But no, most of the issues I tend to have are from people who aren't trying to do major roles. They're doing one random character on the side, and they jump in being like, hey. And again, that's fine. Because that's related to another thing. I would rather have more people involved in the project than have everyone involved be good at what they're doing, and have fewer people involved, right? That's just a priorities thing at that point. Yeah, I would rather avoid an Oblivion situation. Granted, that's not a great example, because in Oblivion they were good. But imagine if all the actors in Oblivion were really, really good. That's what I would rather avoid. But again, that's partially because this is a community project and, you know, I want people involved.
Able to jump onto the tall neck from here.
I suppose that's fair, John.
To get on the tall neck's head.
Oh, we totally do, Zaluk. Not only do we have more voice acting talent, we can do more remote voice acting than we've ever been able to. My Little Pony is a show that had people recording in 2 separate studios in 2 separate countries.
Made it.
I mean, that's not a perfect example of what I'm talking about, but it is an example of what I'm talking about. And I don't mean this as an insult to anyone, but the fact that it only costs a couple $100s to get a decent mic, which can work with the right setup, says all it needs to, you know? You don't need to drop $5,000 and a studio, which is going to cost closer to $30, or rent one out, in order to get voice acting that sounds decent. Of 26 dormant. Hello? There we go. Yeah, exactly, Geludo. I mean, I was talking about before COVID, admittedly, but yeah, after COVID, it's become even more common for people to just do voice acting work from home or from, like, a closet. Believe it or not, the closet method is surprisingly effective, as long as you can drag your lines and your microphone into it. Like, if you have a walk-in closet, the clothes and the contained space form a natural sound booth. I've actually considered using a walk-in closet several times for my own recording. Instead, I use the blanket method, but, you know. So I'm debating. I was talking about this thing, which is like 180, Blue Off Alex. Or I guess that thing, but you get the point. I mean, why Latin, Gum-Gum? I don't understand that. Alright, you got it. What's behind the camera? Well, we got that, and we got that. There you go. Just for you, Tesla. Yeah, that's never happening, Tesla.
They're hidden.
Yeah, my PC is gargantuan. There you go. And I've tried using pictures to get across how large that PC is. They don't do it justice. You don't really see how big it is until you're sitting here staring at it. I hate you, Malignant. I hate you so... Why am I hating you again? Wait, did you have an opinion? Oh my god, how dare you! Shocking. But yeah, that's a 1000D, for those of you who know what that is. A Corsair 1000D. Everything nice set up? No. This is not my home, so I haven't decorated it other than what you can see right here.
Heard something.
I mean, probably the same way I've already been doing it, Gum-Gum. First, I'd spend a year studying grammar and syntax, and then I'd slowly fill out the vocabulary. Shazam!
What are they doing here?
I'm actually scratching my energy shield. Holy crap. Normally I'd shoot them, but, you know.
The shadow demands sacrifice!
Alright, you're sacrificed. Anyways, hi Maverick. Hope your afternoon's going well.
Locked. Maybe one of the guards has the key.
Do I have to loot, game? The game's like, you should go loot. I don't wanna... Oh, I would like to have an actual home, but it's probably never happening. Because I know how expensive houses are. Even assuming I wanted to do it the normal way, which I would not, admittedly, I would still need about 70 grand lying around. That's completely separate from the money that I need for, you know, living and existing.
Get your arms!
70 grand is the minimum, by the way.
This was a cauldron once. But the wild got in. And now the enemy too.
They're digging too deep if you ask me. Should listen to... Huh?
Yeah, Zillow hates Imperial, the language. I don't blame him, though. Yeah, no, I will have a home when I win the lottery, and or come into some kind of inheritance. Which, that last part will probably never happen, and the first part will definitely never happen, so I will never have a home, is the reality here. And I've just kind of accepted that in my life. I spent a few years doing some very hard and serious digging into the finances of that and making it happen, and I ran into a wall. So I gave up.
Is he still here?
You know the old saying, it doesn't matter how hungry you are, it matters how much food you can get access to. So I don't renew on the lease. There's actually a lot of answers to that, Wolf Alex. I think if I could share any of those on camera. Give me a second.
Get ready for the shadow. Push harder!
I suppose the only answer I could give that I feel safe sharing on camera is ironically related to my own safety. It is advantageous as a streamer to move regularly. I'm not exactly big, so that's not really a huge issue for me. But that is an issue with me. Oh, see, I thought you actually disliked it, Zillow. My bad. It was constructive criticism, it's just criticism I can't actually do anything with. Realistically, functionally. Yeah, to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. Just to give you one idea of what I'm talking about. It was offered to me to move back in with my sister recently. I declined. Not because I don't want to live with my family, and not because of any biases or prejudice, and not because of any other practical reasons, but only because of safety. Their safety. Hey, Junior Shire. No, if I was Batman, I'd be rich and I'd have a house. Let me give you just one mild example of something that can happen. Let us assume for a moment that someone decided to swat me. Now, it is getting harder to do that, thankfully. Legal people have finally started waking up to the fact that that is a serious and dangerous crime. But let us assume for a moment that someone tried to swat me. Now, they'd show up, and they'd be like, oh, blah, blah, and they'd put me on the ground, and I'd be like, alright, whatever. I'd have a chat with them, we'd find out it's not a big issue, I would go back to streaming. Now, let's say they did that when I was living with my family, which includes a young child and a dog. For those of you not aware of how that works, ignoring the fact that SWAT people have absolutely no problems shooting when they are performing, invasion of a home, because they presume they're there for a good reason, the fact is they are legally allowed to shoot any animal which they perceive to be a difficulty. There's something that might be a threat to them. And I guarantee you with 100% certainty that exact dog would rush up and bark like crazy. Wouldn't bite him, wouldn't attack him, but he would rush up and bark like a madman. So they would shoot him. And they would be legally within their right to do so. So now, let's take that one additional step there. Let's assume for a moment that as they are shooting at this dog, they accidentally miss and hit a young child. Because again, weapons are free when performing an invasion. Do I need to keep going here? And mind you, this is one scenario. could think of plenty others. So, you get the idea. But this is another reason why it is advantageous to move periodically. It makes it harder to know where I'm living. Not that I encourage you to do this, but if you were to go look for my address, you would find about 4 right now.
Who, me?
If it makes you feel any better, Larian, I don't.
Let's see what they're selling.
You will perish!
Bingo, Tesla. Yeah, I say it without hyperbole. There are 2 ways to feel safe here. Don't put on the blinders and don't pay attention to anything. Or don't. As in, don't feel safe.
More machines I can override.
Physical measures. Physical priority, diagnostic, integral, integrity fatal, diagnostic production fatal, priority override, hibernate. Intrusion, source external. Countermeasure inactive, main production external override, main production downloading, additive manufacture type, main production initiating. Yeah, you understand now, Felix, why I move about once a year. Granted, I'm really used to it. It's not what I would call a big sacrifice to me. It is not that expensive to move at this point in time, and I am extremely good at it. I am very practiced in moving constantly.
Don't give up yet! You're empty.
It also probably helps that I don't really unpack.
Regroup and get ready to flank!
Again, this is not home. So... yeah, by a factor of thousands, Kritsors. Yeah, I don't own a lot of stuff. And I don't... Why do these guys keep spawning? I don't own a lot of stuff, and most of my stuff is still in boxes. Like, literally. The only reason anything is out of boxes now is because of the fact that I've got the set there. Remember I mentioned those 4 totes that have all my video games? Why do you think they're just in 4 totes? But yes, the housing market is stupid. To be perfectly blunt, I think the real estate industry in general needs a hard reset, but that's just me.
Getting picked off! Die, apostate!
Oh no, that's funny, Tesla. No, I move myself. I don't actually trust movers. And you're probably thinking, lore, why don't you trust movers? Well, there's a couple reasons. First and the most obvious is that I don't trust movers. I don't trust most people, especially not with my stuff. Second reason is that I trust myself, because I know what I'm doing. Like I said, I am quite practiced at it. By simple experience, I am decent at moving. The third reason is, God, I have heard some horror stories. Never encountered any personally, but I have heard some fun horror stories. And you might think, well, that's a low chance, but I don't really feel like permanently losing stuff because I happen to be the 1 in a million chance, you know? The same way we came? So yeah, no, I moved myself. Although I do need to finally build? Excuse me, buy a dolly. This last move was the first time I ever found myself actually, you know, working myself to exhaustion moving. And it's almost entirely this damn desk, too. Frickin' desk. Thought about getting rid of it. A dolly. It's a long flat surface like this, and then it's got a ledge right here which you can have to put stuff on it. It's got 2 wheels on either side right there, and you can just put heavy stuff on it, lean it back, and wheel it around like that. That's a dolly. I rent a U-Haul, hazardous. I usually rent a U-Haul for a day. By the time I go to get the U-Haul, I'm already well packed. Move, unpack, return it, done. Hey, Mockingbirds. Like I said, I'm sorry. I keep saying this and keep sounding like bragging. I do know what I'm doing. I have moved before. And, I'm a little practiced at it at this point. I knew that was gonna happen. That's the best part. And there's lava down there. Nice. And I feel like the game wants me to range this boss. No, like I said, I just rent a U-Haul. Would you stop running from me? Get stuck in the terrain. That's cool too. It's not my fault that this game can go to hell. It isn't. If I was playing on PC, I would have no problem. But yes, my sister actually did that, Larian. You hire people, and actually they don't do anything. All they do is they move the big stuff into the cargo crates, right? Or into the van that you've already rented or whatever. And so just chukunk. But no, it is not meant to be the anti-Empire. The hegemony... I suppose the hegemony isn't really designed to be anything, if I'm being honest. You know, I didn't set out thinking, I will make... the perfect entity. No, it's just an organization. It kind of grew over time, like most things in my setting do. How did I come in? I think I came in that way. Depends, Tesla. This most recent move, third, actually helped me move. I repaid him with Carabas. That's apparently a kill plane. Define functioning like a hegemony for me, Baron, and I will answer your question. Liquid soldiers? Where am I? Really turned around. Okay, I think... Oh, god damn it. I'm back at defending the core. That would be why that's not open.
Eyes on me, brothers! Can't hit anything with this!
Well, all I know about the Batarian hegemony is that they're terrorists, but no, is that they are a oppressive regime which uses massive amounts of propaganda in order to maintain power when the majority of the people don't actually support them, and that is not the hegemony.
Look out! She's a You cannot run from Russia!
according to Takoida's answer, the answer is absolutely yes. The hegemony is designed to keep the Vorsad on top. They are the highest social order within the hegemony, so yes. Mind.
Get back in!
Game. I have no idea, Baron. I admittedly don't know that much about the Prussian state immediately prior to the foundation of the German Empire. I know more about the foundation of the German Empire, but, you know, that's just Bismarck at that point. Yep, there it is. It's up. Okay, real talk for a second. When I was very young, like single-digit range, I actually thought Prussia and Russia were the same thing, just named differently. You know, like it was a slight variance of each other. Shut up. Do I like Yu-Gi-Oh? No. But I'm also not very familiar with Yu-Gi-Oh.
Stalkers!
Sorry, Mockingbirds. Ask me about MTG, I might be able to answer you. But not Yu-Gi-Oh. Well, yeah, republics are good guys. And kingdoms. Empires are bad guys. Oh, there you go. Blue Alex might be able to help you out, Mockingbirds. Yeah, barons are the bad guys. Like all aristocrats, obviously. Kings can be good or evil, but queens are usually evil. Emperors and empresses, though, they're always evil. God, I hate that. Thank you, Questy. Always appreciate those subs. Much obliged. I'll put that towards Spec Ops. Yes, Spec Ops The Line. And yeah, princesses are always good. 100% of the time. They usually have dead parents and a connection with nature, too, but that's unrelated. Listen, we all know the Reign of Terror was France's greatest hour. I think we can agree on that. Yeah, literary tropes are literary tropes. I'm mostly making fun if it's not blindingly obvious. can name a good emperor. Emperor Valerian Minsk. Yep, the Chancellor's evil. Always. Either that or they're a monster in disguise. I actually do admit that Valerian Minsk grew on me a lot as a character. To my surprise, is why I mentioned that. I really didn't think he would. Sorry, Mockingbirds. Emperor Vir Kodo. That's a good one. I like that. Honestly, that would probably piss me off, Tesla. But it's okay. Blizzard has abandoned StarCraft, so we're good.
Almost out of here.
A trapper in my sights.
We're in the very southwest Cauldron. Cauldron 11. Damn right, Junior Shire. There was also a good emperor in Oblivion. That's right. Uriel Septim the 7th? I always forget the number. But he was a pretty decent dude. And a legitimately good emperor. Oh, I know, Tessie. Imagine if they abandoned StarCraft before we got... Well, before we got StarCraft 2 would be bad, but I got worse than that. Imagine if they abandoned StarCraft 2 in the... Or excuse me, imagine if they abandoned StarCraft in the middle of StarCraft 2. Like, Wings of Liberty came out and they were like, we're done. Keep in mind that happens a lot in fiction, so... That, sucks. Mega Man, excuse me. I could mention a lot of franchises that have just been abandoned in mid-stride. Anyways.
Well, so much for the
Yep, I'm out. Peace! I would say so, Pika. But you're just pointing out a thing, and that's what we are pointing out. The joke is that these literary tropes are not necessarily true. That's why I'm saying them as if they're literally true, because that's the joke. Princesses are always good. Kings and queens and blah, 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 blah. You get it. That's right, I need to be level 42! Yeah, Wing Commander. There's another one. Oh yeah, duchesses are usually evil. Especially when they're, you know, archer. I don't know why they abandoned StarCraft. I mean, I could just blame Activision because that feels like the easy answer. But that sounds like that's dismissing all of the blame that is on Blizzard's hands, which is a statement I do not agree with. I have to admit, though, I do think that the merger under Activision was the beginning of the end. Absolutely. I cannot think of any good thing that has come out of that merger. Series that's abandoned after the story was done? StarCraft! Sorry. I'm sure there's other examples. I just can't think of it off the top of my head. Of what exactly? It's a lot of... Because the answer's probably yes, but I am curious of specifics. Oh, tired of StarCraft? No. I'll tell you exactly what happened. The people who actually gave a damn... I'll agree with that, Nerazes. The people who actually gave a damn about StarCraft, one way or the other, either developer-wise or writer-wise or whatever, were like, hey, let's make a new StarCraft game. We've got all these different ideas. And they were told, well, but StarCraft doesn't sell that well. And it's that argument. You know the argument. We've talked about that argument 1,000 times, and we encounter it practically every day, especially in video games. Well, that won't sell that well, so we're not going to devote the resources to it. Because RTS is a bit of a niche genre, which sounds weird, but it's true. RTSs and strategy in general is a bit of a niche genre compared to the numbers that they were wanting. I will never forget the interview where they talked about how the Nova mission was massively outsold by just random commanders for co-op mode. And the way which they said that, and the defeatist nature of it. It's like, oh my god, wow.
Time to release.
Got you.
Don't mistake me, by the way. I do think a certain degree of cost-benefit analysis is mandatory. Like, is the kind of thing that should happen when it comes to development. But there's a difference between cost-benefit analysis and, well, it won't make all the money in the world, so...
You're dead.
StarCraft is currently dead, yes. Not dead to me. I want to be clear about my terminology here. StarCraft is currently a dead franchise, and will likely remain so. I don't know how long. Possibly forever? That's happened. Blizzard has been dead to me for a while, yes. I actually talked about that just last Sunday. That's actually, you know what, let's be more specific about our terminology. I like that better. StarCraft is in maintenance mode. If you want to enjoy StarCraft, you still can. StarCraft 1 is still out there. StarCraft 2 is still out there. And you can still play through them, and I hope to. I'm actually looking forward to reviewing both games, because they're awesome freaking games. But it is on maintenance mode. It is just sitting there, doing its thing. Oh, there we go. Whoops. Okay. What's that? Oh, right. Where's... There it is. Right there. Might as well warp. Why not? Shadowlands is the worst thing ever made in the history of ever. Actually, so, okay. Shadowlands, WoW Shadowlands, is unique to talk about. So, it's better than BFA in every way. More interesting quest design, more interesting dungeon design, more interesting boss design, fantastic raid design, excellent class design, excellent alternate methods of progression with regards to the Covenant abilities and the Soulbinds. Good stuff, right? It also has a substantially more interesting story that knows what it wants to do and is doing it far better than BFA did. So, narratively and gameplay-wise, Shadowlands is just a huge breath of fresh air after BFA. You're probably waiting for the but. But the fact is, Shadowlands is still a product of its time. It is still a bit of a buggy, weird mess in many ways. And, well, it's also committed a cardinal sin that WoW got out of. It's gone back to non-sharing. Let me explain what I mean by that really quickly. There's two types of sharing when it comes to MMOs. Let's assume I'm playing an MMO right now. Just bear with me, okay? And let's assume... there's no mobs near here, but let's assume there's a mob right down that hill, okay? And someone else rushes up to tag it. No problem. I rush up, I join in defeating it, and we both defeat it, we both get credit, we both get loot. Cool. That's shared tagging. However, that doesn't work cross-faction. Now, this is stupid on basically every level, but it's actually gained a new level of stupid, because there is no new PvP in lore or in gameplay when it comes to Shadowlands. it is... So the other faction cannot share tags with me, even though they're working with us in every way, in gameplay and in lore, in order to accomplish the same objectives in the freaking afterlife. That's problem 1, by the way. Because problem 2 is even worse. Problem 1 has been around for forever. And they've actually improved that, believe it or not. That is an improvement over how it used to be. Problem 2 is where it really pisses me off. Because problem 2 is, let's say Pax and I are playing. And let's say we go, and there's an item we have to loot right over here. So I walk over, and I loot this item. Now, there are several ways to make this share in a group when it comes to co-op play. They can, so we call it not despawn or sharing. Sometimes it just shares, like I loot that item, and then he gets credit for me having looted that item. That happens periodically. That used to be the norm, by the way. Back in about Warlords is when they perfected that system. However, sometimes it won't share directly. In those cases, what happens is I loot the item, but it doesn't go away for him, so he can just then walk up and immediately loot the item. No biggie. So it doesn't share, but it doesn't despawn. That's layer 2. Layer 3 is it doesn't share, it doesn't, and it does despawn, which means no sharing whatsoever. To make this very... I need to make this point very clearly, because from vanilla to Warlords, bit by bit, they were getting rid of the non-share thing. Like, in vanilla, nothing shared. Screw you, go get your own copy of everything. It actually discouraged grouping to quest. Bit by bit, that has been improved up to Warlords, where 99.9% of quests and quest items and quest progress all shared when you were in Warlords. They started to screw that up a little bit in BFA, but it was still rare. In Shadowlands, all of a sudden we're back to about half the quests share. So to clarify, we went from 98% to 50%. I can't tell you how much this pisses me off, especially since they had fixed this, and this was an issue that they had, which they had resolved. The overwhelming majority, well, 50%, I'm not joking, it is about half of the quests and the world quests and the dungeon stuff and everything that we do as a group, because I don't play WoW solo, does not share. Now, I don't know if that's deliberate, because they're appealing to the WoW Classic crowd, or if it's an oversight, because of the fact that, you know, there's other bugs and problems with Shadowlands as well. Oh yeah, by the way, Shadowlands is the buggiest expansion I have ever seen WoW put out. No exaggeration. There are so many... I can't actually list the full list, because it's just a laundry list of tons of small, irritating frustrations everywhere. It is a non-stop cavalcade of small little bugs. It's kind of like Cyberpunk was, actually.
This must be Ronamon's family estate.
So that's why I'm sorry for stopping and talking about that, but I had to go into that, because it's not like I can just say Shadowlands is better. Because it is. But...
I wonder what made these machines attack without warning.
I would agree with that, Joven. I think that was pretty much the beginning of the end. It's worth noting, so I can track it specifically. I'm not sure when Legion came out relative to Diablo 3's release. Legion was the beginning of the end for WoW, in my opinion. But lore, I thought Legion was your favorite expansion. It is. They did a lot right, but the seams had started to really show in Legion. As I talked about during the Legion lore run, a lot of the issues that later plagued WoW and are still an issue with regards to WoW really started at the end of Legion. I actually, like I said, I pointed it out during the lore run, where the writing noticeably just starts dropping in quality. I agree, by the way, Tessie. I mean, of course I do. You know my thoughts on that.
Hello? Hello?
Oh, there we go.
thank you. I didn't really believe anyone was coming for me. I think everyone else is dead.
Tell me what happened when the machines attacked.
There were screams. I came running. The Ravager ripped through the guards like dolls. My father pushed me into the larder. I heard him kill a Watcher. Then, blasts from the Ravager's cannon. Silence. I tried opening the door, but he'd locked me in.
He saved your life.
And I'll never be able to thank him.
Do you have any idea where the machines came from, or why they attacked so suddenly?
We've been seeing more and more machines around here every year. That's why my father hired more guards. But they've never attacked like this before. I have no idea what caused it.
Stay here. I'm gonna have a look around.
I will. I need to take a moment with my father.
Are there any MMOs currently worth getting involved in? I'd say there's actually several. There is WoW. For all the complaints I have, WoW is still a legitimately good game at its core, especially right now. There's also Tor, which is a game that is frustrating and irritating to deal with from a gameplay perspective, but has legitimately good storytelling and is engaging enough to make me want to play it from the story axis. There's Star Trek Online, which, you know, that is what it is. Activate, there we go. Star Trek Online. I notice how all of these have massive asterisks attached to them. Star Trek Online is a game that, you know, is really well presented and really designed from a story and narrative perspective, but is just kind of something you put up with gameplay-wise. FF14, which is a game that has massive, ridiculous, horrific issues from a gameplay perspective, but is awesome from a narrative. Look, I swear I'm describing separate MMOs here. The STO is fun to fly, the shipped combat. It suffers from content drought, which basically means it's an intermittent game. And it also suffers from the fact that it has ground combat. Alright, what obvious thing am I missing here? Warcraft Reforged I mean, that's up to you, Pika. You can decide that for yourself. Yeah, I have a Star Trek Online lore run up, if anybody's interested in that. I'm actually pretty pleased with that one. I had an... Oh yeah, Neverwinter. That's another one. Neverwinter is actually a weird one. It's probably the least janky of the options I mentioned, but it's also one of the more generic, for lack of a better way to put it. I don't mean to say it's bad per se, but at the same time, it's hard for me to legitimately recommend Neverwinter.
Locked. There must be a way in.
Based purely on the gameplay. It is also based on D&D 4th Edition, which is actually a good thing, because D&D 4th Edition was designed to be more like a video game, and hey! But which MMO out there has the best gameplay? WoW. For all the issues I just mentioned, WoW's gameplay is still very tight. Its combat is smooth and quick and responsive and designed in a way that other MMOs are not. It has huge variety to playstyle and combat balance across different classes. They've added wonderful new stuff that makes it even more fun to play, like the Torghast runs, which are awesome, roaming around the Maw, which is engaging, if terrifying, especially if you don't know what you're doing. Again, the new Covenant abilities and the new Soulvines, which change how you play. And then, of course, there is the encounter design, quest design, dungeon design, boss design, and raid design, all of which is basically top-notch. So, for the complaints I mentioned earlier, do allow this to be clear, WoW still has absolutely phenomenal gameplay. It will be interesting to see, Tesla. Can WoW be soloed? Yes, absolutely. You could pick a... I don't like to, but that's a preference thing. You know, there's absolutely nothing preventing you from playing through all WoW content effectively solo. Now, I say effectively solo because you do have to group up for dungeons and for raids. However, there are tools in place that make that basically soloing, for lack of a better way to put it. As for, is it new player friendly? Actually, funnily enough, as of the patch, the pre-patch, the acclamation patch that led to the current expansion, WoW is probably the most new player friendly MMO I've ever seen. And again, no hyperbole here.
I'd have to ditch something. A key. This should get me through that door.
Like, you start a new character right now, and you can start in an existing zone, or you can start in a brand new zone that just came out a few months ago, designed for new players. Then, you can do any expansion in just about any order that you want to, and there's plenty of things that are like, here's how this works, here's how this class works, yada, yada, yada. It is, I can't put into words how new player friendly it is. The game's going to get at least one positive for that whenever we review it. Yeah, that's true. I didn't bring up Guild Wars 2. Guild Wars 2 is just a giant asterisk when it comes to MMOs right now.
That device is sending out a signal. Could be what attracted the machines. Okay, that should cut the signal. But someone put this here to call in the machines and kill everyone on the estate.
Turns out it was man. Sorry. So what's up with Guild Wars 2? Well, he sounds like someone who wouldn't like Guild Wars 2, Gum Gum. So... cutscene?
I found a lure. I think someone might have put it here deliberately to draw in the machines. Did your father have enemies?
Rainaman. My brother. First there was gambling, then stealing, then extortion. He swore vengeance when my father kicked him out.
Should have killed him.
It was Rainaman who begged me to come. He needed the machines cleared out to claim the property.
We can't let him. That murderous snake.
Can't let me do what, sister? Claim my inheritance?
We shared a creche, murderer. Have you no honor?
No, I guess not. But I will have this estate. When you meet father in the next life, tell him I'm enjoying his money.
Jesus.
This little device will summon more machines. A lot easier than killing you myself.
I was about to say, are you really that stupid? Literally holding the device that summons the machines to kill people. What is wrong with you? Reiterate that I really hate doing this. Thankfully, I'm already set up to do tons of dot damage, specifically for this reason. So I can hit them once, and the fire dot does the rest of the work for me. Look, Mockingbirds, if you can aim with a controller, more power to you. I cannot. I am physically incapable.
I'm glad there are good people like you in the world. It helps to make up for scum like my brother. My father was always generous in his gratitude. A family tradition I would like to continue. Take this.
I mean, you do have the estate
I
now.
hope it will help you in your travels.
I think I do, actually, Eclectic. Hey! I do have a slowdown. Okay, I'll have to keep that in mind. Thank you. Yeah, I can aim with the controller as long as I have a minute. Hang on, let me try to hit, like, that bit right. Give me a second. Hang on. Hang on. There. I would have hit it right there. That was about 4.5 hours ago, Tesla. Actually, it was yesterday, but that's neither here nor there. Okay, so we did those 2 quests. So Guild Wars 2. Let's finish talking about that before I forget. Guild Wars 2. So let's start with the good. Guild Wars 2 has an amazing story, and I mean that sincerely. It's more main plot focused than any other MMO out there. Yes, even like FF14. It is very main plot centric. It's done episodically like a television show, but I mean that in a good way. You get a new episode and it's just yes. It's also worth noting your character is voiced. Now this means you have no choice in your personality. But on the flip side, you get more narrative out of it. Your character has a personality. They are an individual who, you know, talks and reacts and otherwise responds to things, right? Which is awesome. And your voice does change based on species and gender, consequently. Now, really, Blue Wolf Alex, consider me on the flip of that. I've never talked to anyone who liked Guild Wars 2 Vanilla. Unless I'm counting you right now, in which case I'm up to 1. Anyways, so story, hell yes. Very plot-driven, very character-centric. Just absolutely amazing stuff. I cannot praise that enough. There are moments in that story which I would love to go through again, you know. It also does a lot good gameplay-wise. First, it has Blue Fox, which has just donated, who's not Blue Wolf Alex. Different person. One's a wolf, one's a fox. Very different. Thank you. Very, very much. As always, I will put that towards Hollow Knight if you give me a second. Give me a second, and I'll put it there. Fox 24. There we go. Hollow Knight. So, gameplay-wise, it does a lot right. It does, so I mentioned tagging and sharing earlier. Guild Wars 2 goes further than any game I've ever seen to just make everything share. In fact, Guild Wars 2 actually has mechanics built into the game to encourage you to help other players. Like, you will receive credit and tagging help and experience and achievements and gear and loot and all sorts of other fun stuff simply by running around helping other players. I'm not going to go into details because that would take a little bit more time, but trust me when I say that game is designed to be cooperative. Not just 2 people, but everyone helping everyone. And that's awesome. It also has the best mount system I've ever seen in an MMO. The mount system is phenomenal. I've actually shown it off on camera before. There's multiple different mounts. Each one operates differently. Different move speed, different special abilities. One can jump, one can glide, etc. And you can mount in and out of being on a mount so smoothly, I can't even put it into words. Like, you have to see it to believe it. It's just... And I love it. They've also got a glider, you know, like in Breath of the Wild, which, just like in Breath of the Wild, also adds quite a bit to allow you to maneuver and all that stuff. The game also has really fun boss fights, although that's more from Heart of Fire onwards, or not Heart of Fire, whatever the Fire expansion was, all onwards. I could say more positive things about the gameplay, but there's a lot of negative to talk about, too. First of all, the early dungeons, the fractals, sucked. I just straight up sucked. Bad polishing, bad encounter design, way too long, way too boring, disinteresting boss fights, and worst of all, they were improperly tuned. They basically made every mistake a dungeon can possibly make. There was also the fact that leveling in Guild Wars 2 kinda sucks. Leveling isn't really even supposed to be the point, but you kind of have to, so it is the point. And you will run into actual barriers to progress until you have successfully leveled a certain amount of time. Now, what you're supposed to do is just go out and do things to level. But when you're trying to play through for the excellent plot that you're really engaged with, and the game basically says, hold on, go level for a bit, it's a little bit of a problem. Especially since, in several cases, you can't level in advance. You need to unlock the right things to level. Because it's not just your actual level, your experience level, but also your adventure level, or whatever they call it. I forget what the actual proper terminology is for it. Like, you need to be able to glide, for example, or you need to be able to... I don't remember all of them. There's specific things you need to be able to do in order to progress. Literally, mandatorily. And that means just stopping playing the game and going off and running in circles for a while. Except even that isn't quite the same, because the sources of adventure experience are inconsistent and not always available due to the fluid nature of the events and how the game runs. There's also the fact that vanilla exists. Now, I hate to say that, because, you know, Blue Wolf Alex and the people he has talked to disagrees with me, but anytime I've recommended Guild Wars 2 to someone, I've basically said, if you can afford a level boost to skip vanilla, do it. Let me talk this out. So in Guild Wars 2 vanilla, there's not that much of a plot focus, and the plot is kind of bad and disinteresting. It starts off pretty good. The intro few things are actually really good. And then there's this gigantic morass of there. And then you beat a dragon, the end. And that's basically the plot of vanilla, spoilers. It's badly presented. It's not particularly well voice acted. The characters aren't interesting. There's nothing engaging in the plot. All of the praise I gave to the story earlier is absent in vanilla. Then we add on to that the fact that what will happen to you, is you'll start a new character and you'll see the awesome intro, and then you'll go through this section, and then you'll go to your capital city, and then you'll go to the next main plot quest, and as soon as you finish that quest, it says, okay, come back when you're level 10. And you're level, like, 5. And you see the problem. I could probably keep going, but I think I've made my broadest points here. So while Guild Wars 2 does a lot right, if I, knowing what I know now, had to start over from scratch, I would say no. In fact, some people have tried to suggest or donate for a Guild Wars 2 run, and I have said at every opportunity, no. Because that would mean starting over from the beginning, and no. However, I will say yes to Tyron. Thank you very, very much for that sub, Tyron. I do appreciate it as always. Thank you. If you know where you want that to go, please let me know. We were talking about barrier to entry in WoW. Guild Wars 2's barrier to entry is actually pretty high. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, that actually leads me to one other thing. So Disco says, what class would you recommend? Well, I'm not as familiar with Guild Wars 2 classes as I am certain other MMOs I could mention. But I will say that while there's a lot of visual variance between the classes, most of them play basically the same. Because you don't really have a heal, and you don't have tanks. So no healers, no tanks. You're all DPS. And you're either a melee DPS or a ranged DPS. And that is basically the variance. Now, I'm not saying there's no complexity, because that would be stupid. I myself play a Mesmer, which anybody who knows what that means knows that there's a degree of complexity in that. But the long and the short of it is, just play whatever looks cool. Because it doesn't matter that much. Not really. You got it. Mass Effect 1. Done. I would recommend not playing Thief. Now, hang on. Javan says, I like not having to deal with rolls. I would if the game supported it, which it doesn't. See, this is the problem with Guild Wars 2. They got rid of tanks and they got rid of healers, but they didn't get rid of the mechanics that rely on tanks and healers. Bosses still have to be tanked. Damage is still going out rapid fire that needs to be healed. And neither is happening. the way most major encounters happen, especially when it comes to random overworld events, is people die by the dozens every second, and other people run around and res them, and that's the healing. And tanking, while we're on the subject, because they're the ones who had aggro. If there was a way to 100% avoid damage, in other words, you wouldn't really need a tank, you would just have to be good enough to avoid damage, sure. If there was dedicated healing, or some other mechanics built into the game that allow you to bypass the healing problem, sure. But there aren't, and that's why it's a problem for me. I'm sorry, backpacked, Sierra Mike?
What kind of brutes are you trying to attract?
And give me a minute, go.
I do the...
I brought you both the parts. So, what do you say?
I don't suppose I could buy just the one.
You'd buy the wrong one. So give the hunter her shards for both.
Of course. Here you are. If this is the price I have to pay.
The price you have to pay? The Snapmaw lens might just cover the loss we take on the other.
It won't sell for a loss, charcoal burner. You'd pay handsomely for a long leg lens if you had an imagination.
I have an imagination. When you rattle that piece of junk around, I think of your skull.
You from the beginning.
Sounds like a bookworm to me, Gum Gum.
That we would have class.
To answer your question.
And I told you.
Is that up? That looks like that's up. Now, having said all that, once you've gotten to the good stuff in Guild Wars 2, it stays good from then on. And that's why I have no hesitation about praising it so much, too. Because once you get past that, then it's just awesome. Like, I'm legitimately looking forward to going through the Jorag stuff right now, you know?
You saw the thief make a run for it?
My back was to the wall, you see? Wasn't expecting someone to crawl out the window. He ran past me, dressed in gray, clutching the sword. That's all I saw. By the sun, my heart nearly seized up.
Oh, he's lying.
Drops of blood bleeding away.
I will say, several years ago, I stopped thinking of MMOs as a group thing and started thinking of them as a co-op thing. And ever since I switched that mentality, my enjoyment of MMOs actually went up quite a bit. I'm not saying that's necessarily how it should be, or what anyone else should say, I'm just sharing the truth.
Still more blood. The thief got cut pretty bad. Trail ends here. I imagine the close.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, you could do that, Sierra Mike. Not to the same extent, though. So, I guess not really, but kind of.
Relics, Outlander.
So here's the problem. Let's assume for a moment that Sierra Mike was like, "Hey, Lore, I want to play Guild Wars 2. Please play with me." And I'm like, "Sure, I have infinite time." And so I start playing them with Sierra Mike. Now, if I go to the starter zone where he's at, you know, hang on, let's visuals. Let's say, so I'm way over here at Meridian, right? He's just starting, so he's way back here, right? So I can go back here. I can just teleport here right now. And I can just help him and run around with him. Now, I can't really power level him. I cannot shove experience down his throat, as you can in some MMOs. Instead, what I can just do is make the overall experience more bearable. There is a caveat, though. You're probably thinking, but you're level 60, Lore. No, I'm not. So Guild Wars 2 does something that I actually don't like. Now, this is pure preference. But it levels you to the level of the zone. Every zone has a level cap. So down here, it's 5. So I go here, I'm level 5. I go over here, I'm level 8. I go up here, I'm level 10. Now, I'll always be at that cap because I'm actually level 60. But I am dragged down to that level with him. So we are basically just two newbies playing together.
Don't pass up these goods.
You there, Outlander? Do you have relics to trade?
Nope. Okay, fine, what?
You're looking for artifacts.
Yes, but I'm no profiteer. Sun King Avad has named me an envoy to the Banuk. I work on their behalf, looking for sacred relics to return to their homeland, Ben-Ur. I'm especially interested in wooden figures that are sometimes found near Banuk rock paintings. If you have any, I have valuables to trade for them.
Right.
Come on back if you find any Banuk goods. Excuse me, Outlander? I'm looking for Banuk artifacts.
Well, I'm looking for a witness, so forgive me.
Would you like to buy something today?
And yeah, I tend to agree with you, Goon Kid. I don't enjoy playing MMOs solo. It's one of the biggest reasons why I don't really play FF14. I only play it whenever it comes around time to play it. Enjoy it while it's there, but FF14 is more or less a mandatory solo game. In fact, I gave a negative for that, if you remember. And I don't like that. I would rather being able to play with a friend. I would like the cooperative experience, please.
Found any Banuk relics in the wilds, Outlander?
It's why I mention Pax frequently, because he and I tend to play most MMOs together. Oops, wrong button.
It's growing on me.
You'll like to have for sale, I promise.
Sorry, Javin. Sorry. Oh, here we go. I saw a name right
I'd
there.
like to discuss a trade with you, Outlander.
Did someone run past here, holding a sword?
Sure did. He grabbed some linen off the stand here and took off down the stairs behind you. He was bleeding, so maybe he needed a binding. Blast it! That was expensive cloth. I can't believe I paid for that thief's bandage.
Sorry.
Would you like to buy something today? Time has treated you well.
If the thief came this way, there's only one way he could have gone. Forward.
Time to kill him in the face. Nah, he's a thief. We kill him in the hands there.
Someone must have seen him go by. Did you see anyone run through here? He would have been holding a sword.
Yeah. Almost crashed into me, too. He ran down the parapet here and went down the lift. No way you'll catch him now. I didn't see a sword, though.
He wasn't carrying anything.
Not a damn thing. Just ran like his ass was on fire.
The thief must have ditched the sword. But where? Maybe he had help. That merchant stall would have been a convenient drop-off.
Well, you see, Dimpy, every time I talk to people, I try to talk in a manner that tries to enunciate what I'm saying to them as I'm speaking. And I just pulled my headphone out for that.
It looks like the thief got away, but without the sword. I thought maybe he dropped it off somewhere. Like here, for instance?
What? No. I had nothing to do with this.
I guess we'll see when I get the city guard to toss your stall and question your customers.
Hold on. There's more to this. You've got a reputation for shining light in the darkness, so I know you'll listen. You're right. The sword was passed to me, and I passed it on to someone else. It's going to be sold, but not for profit. The shards will go to people in need.
You expect me to believe that?
I can prove it. Meet my friends at the watermill in the lower village. They'll explain everything. If they don't convince you, come right back with the guards. I'm not going anywhere.
It wouldn't matter if you did. I'd find you. But all right. I'll check out the watermill. Okay. Guess I should go to this watermill then to find out what's going on.
Yeah, Tor is pretty bad about that, Goon Kid. We kind of had some issues with that when I was doing the run. Thankfully, we only had very infrequent issues since we actually had players to work with during the actual review run. And, you know, ideally that would be the way going forwards. Because, yeah, cutscenes. And most of the players are just like, come on! It's our 15th time doing this, let's go! I mean, you can kind of understand where they're coming from, too, but at the same time, it is a little frustrating. Let's not even talk about FF14. Although FF14 basically forces players to wait. Which, as weird as this may sound, might actually be one of the better options there. Yeah, or STO, which would constantly skip dialogue. First reaction to seeing snow in the morning. What is my first reaction to seeing... So, given where I live right now, on the moon, if I saw snow, I would be pretty wigged out, admittedly.
I was told to expect you, Aloy. I suppose you want answers.
How did you get here before?
Well, it's not complicated. We collect valuable objects from people who don't need them, sell them for shards, and use the money to help the needy at Sunfall.
You mean you steal?
If you want to call it that. From hogs who've had their turn at the trough for generations.
Ravon didn't seem like a hog to me.
He stinks just like the rest of them, of wealth and contentment, while people beneath him suffer.
Mm-hmm.
Who exactly gets the shards at Sunfall?
Not the bastards in the fortress. We use the shards to make sure the poor in Shadowside get to eat, or bandage their wounds. They only went west because they had to. Trust me, I know. My wife was chained up with a bunch of servants and herded with them. They starved to death, still bound together.
I'm sorry.
So am I.
Where's the sword now?
Safe. I haven't sold it yet.
What do you expect me to do now? Walk away?
I was hoping you'd help us. They say you can track like a stalker. Well, my partner Nassan disappeared near the Branded Shore. He was bound for Sunfall, along with an entire shipment of food. If you found that, you'd be helping a lot of people.
I'll consider it. But only if you return the sword to Ravon.
I knew you were gonna say that. Fine, I'll return the damn blade. Nassan was supposed to meet his contact at an old campfire on the fork near the Branded Shore. Start looking there. But be careful. Lots of machines out there, and lots of Shadow Karja. And not the needy kind, but they're tormentors.
Watch out for the Oseram merchants. They'll soon cheat you and look at you.
Hear that, guys? All dwarves are cheats. What? Nope, that is way up there. Wow. Well, given the time, let's go ahead and just chop off here. As a fresh reminder, there will be no second streaming block today since I'll be going to help out my sister. But we will be back, continuing to stream this very game tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, as per usual.